Obviously, how we understand will depend also on how we listen to the teachings. So I will share with you, especially on the contemplation side, as to we as householders, how do we learn to do that? So ever since the Avatam Saka Assembly, as you know, Avatam Assembly was soon after the Buddha attained enlightenment. At that time, obviously, when the Avatam Saka Sutra was delivered, only to invisible beings. So he had wanted to proclaim his original intent, and that was the teaching was about the state of enlightenment. Right? But even from the attained ones, and the noble beings who listened, it wasn't easy to understand. But his disciple could not understand the wonders of the Dharma. So then he realized, the Buddha realized that it wasn't easy for the Dharma, the great Dharma vehicle to be delivered. And the story goes that, and when he realized that, he wasn't sure whether he could be able to expound the Dharma. So that's when the Brahma came and pleaded to the Buddha to share that. And despite, especially in Thailand, the Brahma king has been being revered, because without the Brahma king, the Dharma may not even be propounded of the great vehicle. So as if deaf or dumb to it, they could not accept the one vehicle Dharma. And there was a point that was explained earlier. And enlightened minds like ourselves, we are basically deaf or dumb. It wouldn't be able to accept the one vehicle Dharma. So even if, even for, the enlightened, the noble ones, and when they share the Dharma, because of the profundity of the meaning of it, it's not easy to really understand such teachings, because the truth cannot be explained. It's just simply this. It's just like emptiness. How do you explain form is emptiness, emptiness of form? Form is no other than emptiness. Emptiness is no other than form. And in the worldly mind, that is extremely difficult to understand. When I first read the Heart Sutra, I basically, I was dumbfounded, and I wouldn't even claim that really I understand even that couple of lines, but I have a bit of knowing, and so then you understand that even that on a sense, and it's only in the Prajna Sutra. So it's only from the Avatam Saka, then you have the Agama, the Vaipujana and the Prajna period, right? So if we talk for that, I forget about even at the Lotus Sutra level. And even at that level, for me to understand that is not easy. I'm still, often I still even look back at the Heart Sutra until today. So they were biased and attached to either emptiness or existence, and regretted that past teaching could not yet deeply penetrate them, their minds. And that was talking about the four great disciples, of course. So emptiness or existence, even at a wondrous existence, I'm struggling to really understand even true emptiness. So for me, I'm still very, very far off to really sort of deeply penetrate my mind. So the Avatam Saka state did not only exist in the Buddha's thoughts at the moment of his awakening. Actually, the Avatam Saka state is in you and me, and we all inherent have it. So listening to my masters speak of the Lotus Sutra is at a state that I can only go to the state of knowing. And then from the state of knowing, I need to go into the state of understanding. And from the state of understanding, I need to grow in a state of realization, and then in a state of practice. So therefore, this can appreciate, or at least I appreciate, how profound the teaching is, to grow deep within myself, to appreciate the teaching. So the Buddha explained it, sentient beings were unable to comprehend it. Even when he thought about suffering causation and cessation and about at the first assembly, those 5 people alone, which was the first Sangha community, the Buddha had to explain the Four Noble Truths 3 times. Now, the truth of suffering, cause of suffering, the way, there's a cessation of suffering, the way to cessation of suffering. So all these Four Noble Truths, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and even, and they are already in the Sangha. They've been practicing ascetics for a long time. Of the 5, 1 immediately after hearing the Four Noble understood that, reached the first stage of Arahathood. Now, for us, that if that is indeed the case, then if I draw an analogy from there, that if we have therefore heard now the Four Noble Truths, have we reached the state of Sotapanna? I mean, I certainly have not. So there's a lot more to the Four Noble Truths than what we already know right now. So therefore, if you understand that, draw an analogy from there, even the Four Noble Truths is still not easy to go deep into our heart. So for more than 50 years, he had never spoken of the matter to anyone about his true intent, because our capabilities were not yet mature. So Avatampaka's state and the wondrous Dharma for returning to a pure nature through such as were not within our capacity to accept at that time. But even now, to understand the Lotus Sutra is still a long journey. Like I said, and don't forget that the 4 great disciples who then at the time couldn't accept that, were within the capacity to accept, were already enlightened, in the enlightened state, at least of Arahathood. So therefore, and even Avatamsaka state, when Buddha explained that, the invisible beings include bodhisattvas. So therefore, we need to appreciate how a word and what it means. And more often than not, that same word that you understand today and 10 years from now will have a different meaning. And that's the reason why I always encourage you all to take notes. And sometimes then you can look back at what you understand and what you understand now and understand before, very different. And that is what today's main teaching is about. So on contemplation. The tendencies of delusion, greed, and anger prevent the body dharma seed from sprouting. Especially, I put delusion right up front because that is the state that we are in for unenlightened beings. One is unable to listen, practice, or even understand the Dharma because of our own self-hindrances of delusion, thinking either we know, or either we have doubts, or either we already understand that. So uphold the precepts to prevent rebirth in the lower realms, and that's what Master often mentioned, uphold the 5 precepts. So then we'll take rebirth in the 3 evil realms. As one encountered the Dharma, the tendencies of desire, jealousy, and pride hinder one from realizing the spiritual insights. Now, why desire, jealousy, and pride? I'll come to that. Undertake uphold the precepts to prevent the rebirth in the lower realms. Why is that relevant in this context of listening? Because you see, we know that our journey, the spiritual journey, is not just end of this lifetime. By the time you reach end of a life, you become enlightened. Far from it. So when we are not in that state, we know then, therefore, for us to understand, we understand as much as we can, and we have to continue to grow to understand deeper in our future life. So therefore, to do that, first of all, we need to prevent a lower rebirth in the lower realms, because with this, it's impossible at the animal realm to even understand the Dharma, let alone at the hungry ghost level, the hell beings. So therefore, we'll be consumed by suffering at that time. So when already in that state, so once we encounter the Dharma, the tendencies of desire, jealousy, and pride hinder one from realizing the spiritual insight. So spiritual insights and desire, which realm is it? And desire is the human realm. Jealousy is in the Asura, and pride is in the heavenly realm. So even, and this also within the samsaric realms, and there will still be afflictions within ourselves. And so long as there's hindrances, that spiritual insights, it's not easy to understand. And we then cannot progress in the true study. And the true study is the flawless study. Because one is attached to self-will and afflicted by others' views. So why does desire? Because we have our own self-gratification, we have our own self-cherishing thoughts. So does jealousy and pride, that we have our own self-view. And then it's not hard for us to accept or afflicted by others' views, or simply can only listen to one's own echo of our own thoughts. So we keep listening to our own thoughts. How can one progress? And even when one listens to the Dharma by the Master, we have our own thoughts, our own knowing. So that's why we do sharing to understand from one another, so we can expand our understanding. And that's the purpose of why we do share. So on relationship, and the same thing goes for a relationship, that we try to learn from one another in a relationship. And that's what we should be doing, learning from a relationship. But even learning from a relationship, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a friends, whether it's in the family, it's not easy. The reason is because that there are very few students in relationship. Everyone wants to be a teacher. Isn't that the case? We want to teach our children, we want to teach our spouse, we want to teach our friends, we want to teach everybody. A teacher talks and a student listens. When they're all teaching and no student, nothing is learned. So one who speaks only learn from what one already knows. Okay, Kalan, brother, sister, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother Chin. I will always want to be your student, brother Chin. Wonderful sharing. Yeah. Okay, now shall we on our video to take a group photo, all of us? Please on the video. Show us your